we are forced to go through the process. If you give up, it's your own fault. You're beaten and you don't claim a lawsuit. You know, we know nothing's going to happen, but we still have to put our effort.
So, what's the name of this movie?
Something about Payway.
That was Ai Weiwei.
No, Ai Weiwei.
Ai Weiwei.
Way.
Isn't that hilarious?
Not too I.
Because this guy fought for his freedom, and we made jokes about
Who
it.
used to live in New York City in the 80s, and I think he's probably heard that one a few times.
I'm sure, yeah.
It's like people going to me, hey, Miley.
He lived through the 80s. Yeah, he's heard a lot of shit. Yeah,
He has. But with the person this film, Ai Weiwei, Never Sorry, is about, is a Chinese artist and activist by the name Ai Weiwei, because otherwise why would that word be there? It is indeed a documentary, so sorry, guys. Stay with us. What? Documentary.
It gets better, trust me.
But the thing that makes this guy remarkable isn't so much that he's he's a very modern artist. He's not classical by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
He does very interpretive type art pieces of all kinds. He does performance art, that sort of thing.
Wait, is this just like putting a piece of shit in a pickle jar?
No,
it's more like putting a shit in a pickle jar on top of shit with a pickle jar and on top of more shit with a pickle jar until it makes a ladder.
Let's
And
put it
it's
this way.
art.
This guy did a thing where he was commenting about the destruction of Chinese culture by taking pictures of himself with ancient Ming Dynasty vases and breaking them.
Did he break them for real?
He took Ming Dynasty vases, vases, whatever, and we're painting them garish colors and writing like Coca-Cola on them.
And he's standing in the picture like an asshole smiling about it.
He does pictures of him flicking off like Tiananmen Square and the White House.
It's funny because when you talked about him like breaking Ming vases, I was like, come on, man, what the fuck? That's not being an artist, you're being an asshole. But painting Coca-Cola on it, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, okay, so he is he has something to say. And this film sort of follows him and his career and why that is so pertinent in him having something to say. Because the guy lives in Beijing. And,
good luck with that.
Is, we're not talking Hong Kong where they're like, well, we own you now, but I guess you guys can pretty much do what you want. We're talking mainland China where you just do not talk shit about the government or you go to jail.
That's right.
That's why there's not a lot of movies about dudes who are political activists in current modern day mainland China.
Because you can never find him after they talk all that shit. You're like, where'd that guy go? I want to interview him. Sorry.
Yep, he's gone.
He ain't home.
Man, this place
he ain't been home.
Well,
if you find him, he's going to be wrapped in plastic like Laura Palmer. But this guy was so well known and so beloved that he went for years just talking shit like a motherfucker. I mean, seriously, like
he didn't care. He
in the
obviously
art
didn't
world,
give a shit.
he was world famous. Like we're talking like top of the heap.
Yeah.
Which explains why Coast and I had no idea who he was.
Yeah, I know. Just scratching my head the whole time. I'm like, okay, is this movie going to be about this guy and his art
and his cats?
And his cats.
Well,
at the point when they introduce the cat, you're like, okay, I already don't give a shit.
See, that's when I got interested.
Oh, okay.
It's funny because you're describing how I felt watching the trailer where it first showed, okay, he's an artist, he's got these cats. Oh, he taught a cat to open a door. That is impressive. I got to give him that. But what's the big deal?
Yeah, put that shit on David Letterman.
To be fair, the cat figured that out by himself.
You just want to give cats credit for everything.
I will.
If only that motherfucker learned to fucking play the keyboard first.
Well, you know what I'm going to spoil the ending. It turns out the cats did all the art.
Right. You son of a
I
bitch.
saw it coming the whole way, though.
It was
so
actually the
obvious.
cats who were protesting.
Right.
Caused all this shit. Just
In
threw
fact,
his name on everything.
It turns out the premier or the head of China now is in fact a cat.
Yeah.
So didn't even know. It's a really freaky and twist ending for a documentary. But no, so like where it really starts to take off, you're like, okay, well this is neat. I see what you're doing with art, and it's interesting. He's obviously very talented, but I don't know if I'm blown away until you start seeing the effect that he really is having on his country people and the country itself, who. It's that rare story of somebody who, like they said for V for Vendetta, people shouldn't be afraid of their governments. The government should be afraid of the people.
Yeah.
And this is that guy who the government's like, what the fuck are we going to do about this dude? I mean, he's making statements that we're taking the world, to attention. They're standing up going, wow, this is kind of fucked up. And really one of the big pieces that like made him where they didn't know what to do, where he first started really coming out, was that May 2008 earthquake in Sichuan, where it killed 70,000 people.
Jesus.
Okay. And he was like, hey, y'all aren't going to release actual numbers or even the names of children that were killed, because the big deal was the government, of course, had built all these schools there, but had done it so cheaply, like so shoddy materials, that they just collapsed immediately at the first sign of a tremor. And so like they were saying, I can't remember what the actual number of school children, like small kids who were killed in this thing, but it was just shocking.
Yeah, and that's the point in the movie where all of a sudden your interest really does kick in, because it's not so much about this guy and what he's doing. It's like, okay, why is the Chinese government, why did they not want to release this information? Like, it doesn't make any sense to you why they're withholding that information.
Well, the reason
and what purpose it really serves, which is the whole point of why this artist wants everyone to know this. Like, people don't have this information. It's all being kept a secret, even from the people who are involved in the people who lost their kids, And once you realize how much of an effect that he has, like just trying to go out and get this information, and he also ends up getting volunteers because the guy's on Twitter, and he makes this like his sole purpose for a bit, and that's where you find a connection with the guy, where you're finally like, okay, now I am interested in this guy. Sure, his art is great, but wow, the fact that he has to go out of his way to do this, to where the government is giving him shit about not even
they're giving him shit
do
because it is their fault these kids died because of this shoddy construction. The fact that they are building crap material stuff because, like, well, whatever. I mean, it's very in the face of the whole theory of communism in the first place, like supposed to be for the people. Well, if you're not actually spending your money on building things that even schools for like grade school kids can't survive in a simple tremor, then I don't know, dude. That's kind of fucked up.
I mean, it's shocking, but I mean, everybody knows about things that are made in China,
except the Chinese, apparently. But I mean, that's kind of the point right there, and it really makes them look bad. I mean, it's super embarrassing, and you got thousands and thousands of dead kids' faces staring back at you. There's only so much you can do to publicly silence a protester. And he's definitely takes advantage of that in a way of saying, hey, here's my window to say whatever the fuck I want about all the problems with the government, of which he certainly finds many angles and ways to do that. But as you're watching the movie, it's kind of just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're like, man, sooner or later, they're just going to kill this motherfucker. Because he's just getting braver and more brazen and outspoken and doing just like he does this thing in, I think they said it was France, where he makes a big statement about what happened made out of backpacks.
Which is pretty incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, it's really moving. There are all these photos of the accident with all these kids' backpacks that were scraped out of the rubbish of
they took
dead kids.
Yeah, they took something that one of the kids had said. One of the kids that perished, I guess she wrote a paper or something before.
Yeah.
And this I wish I could remember what the actual statement was, but they wrote this out on this wall, making this huge mural that was about the size of a city block, with these backpacks, with these different colored backpacks, and it was just amazing to look at, to where you're like, wow, that's such a cool idea to do with backpacks. It's so simple, but it's very beautiful to look at. It's very much in the sense of what this guy is doing with his art that really draws that point across. But I mean, the thing is, when you get into the idea, when you start to realize how much you are kind of worried about this guy, because the government, his government doesn't give a shit. I mean, people like him turn up missing. Was they even bring up an example of one of his friends?
Well, several
of his friends. One of them who just got thrown into and pretty much got thrown in prison for making a simple statement about. I think he made a statement.
He made
about,
a criticism of the government that was not any way a call to action or a provoking of violence or anything. It was a criticism of some government policy online, an essay online, and they threw him in jail for 11 years.
Yeah, 11 fucking years for that online, where you're just like, wow. if fucking China were running fucking YouTube, everybody would be in fucking prison right now. If they were
ran Spill.
If they were on our Spill comment section, well, I would throw all these motherfuckers in prison. Yes, but the thing is that as this documentary progresses and you see how much more he gets involved with just his different causes, but also like making a point to show how powerful the internet is for somebody in his position, somebody in his country, where it's like it's a very powerful tool that a lot of people use it to get these messages across. It's the only way for a lot of these people with these criticism about their country. It's their only way for them to have a voice.
The Chinese government heavily censors the internet.
They do, but that's one of the reasons he uses Twitter so much, because apparently that's a different story. That's the one you can do that through your cell phone or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, he finds an avenue through that to continue to communicate however he pleases. But really, like the key here, and I think it really kicks in about the halfway point when you realize what this film is really about. It's not even really about his art per se or his experiences as an artist. It's about the nature of freedom and how artists end up being revolutionary in any given movement towards that. I mean, it has a bigger scope without ever needing to bring up other examples. And as it goes along, it becomes so clear that that's what we're watching here. This is the birth of a new movement towards freedom in China, at least as dictated by this film's terms. And it's a really stunningly beautiful thing to watch starting to come together the way it does. Mm-hmm. Watching people gather around him and just incredible, huge outpourings of support that is really brave for the people involved, because they could all get round up and thrown.
It sounds pretty awesome. I mean, unless it turns out that this is all a huge scheme for him to get more Twitter followers.
Well, I'm sure it didn't hurt.
Yeah, I know. I felt like it was my duty to follow him on Twitter for some reason, even though I don't live in China and I have no reason to really read his shit. But it is something that watching it, I felt, wow, I kind of really do feel like I'm in the dark about how other countries, not that it's my business to know what other countries are doing, but to realize that there is still lots of areas where people are still oppressed. They're oppressed to where you think in this day and age you never imagine that people like just can't speak their mind about their government still.
Because you're a pampered American.
That is right.
I'm still just trying to figure out what you just said. You go, "Hey China, what's going on?" Johnny goes, "Hey man, it's none of your fucking business." You're right. You're right.
Stay out of your business. You stay out of mine.
I don't think it works that way.
Just keep bringing keep bringing that good guy, that awesome food.
I mean, you go back and eat your American cheeseburger and shut up.
It's trying to say, America, this should be your business. Pay attention. Like, we're starting to get to this point towards China. It feels like everything's just being tamped down. It's not so bad there. It's not so bad. Yeah, it really is.
No,
These
it's
people
fucked
are
up.
like, it made better than it was, but that doesn't mean there ain't some seriously fucked up shit that we normally just see in movies like V for Vendetta or 1984 going on there still today. And a lot of the people, when we're talking, I don't know if it's the majority or not. I'm not there. And besides, you tried to count all those motherfuckers.
That's the thing. You say 70,000 kids died. It's like, that's sad, except, well, they still got another 8 billion kids to go.
Suddenly the housing market was like, yay! No, China's a big place. But, it's, as an American, I look at that and I go, wow, this does really make me think about what we have here and how important it is to be vigilant about making sure it stays the way that it is. This film ultimately, like I said, it's not really about art. It's about freedom. And it does a good job of defining that in terms through how an artist sees the world.
Yeah, no, and it's an eye opener. I mean, it's one of those documentaries you wish everyone could see, just to know how lucky we do have it, but just how things around the world are still not very good for people who are just trying to say something. Somebody who just wants to let you know, hey, this happened in my country, and because my country doesn't give a shit about our schools, we had this earthquake. My kid died. Does anybody give a shit? Does anybody care? Or is this just going to be swept under the rug and be forgotten about? And it's kind of sad when you think that a lot of people in China, that's kind of how it seems like that's how they're running things, where they don't let you know unless you need to know something, or unless you just figure it out yourself, to where there's a lot of their history that is just forgotten because they feel like you don't need to know about that.
You don't need to know about that.
Yeah.
Why are you worried?
Yeah.
So I ought to arrest you right now.
So you can understand why, somebody like this artist, where it's like his philosophy is like, breaking away with the old and introducing yourself to new things constantly, to where that seems like just a one of those ways of thinking that people still haven't grasped onto, because I don't know if it's just because from this movie, at least, it's telling me they're just afraid of their government.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's really sad to think how people are still oppressed like that.
And to be clear, during this movie, shit does happen to him. I mean, the government does not just sit there. Like, I mean, he gets some sense not knocked into him, but they give it their damn try.
Yeah.
And there's a period towards the end that's actually, you're going to gasp and be like, oh no. But I mean, we're watching. This guy's still alive.
Yeah, he's still
going
tweeting.
around.
So
yeah, he's still tweeting. So unless they got some doppelganger who's like, man, communism is awesome.
which I almost wish you didn't say that, because that was the part of the film that really caught me off guard, to where I'm like, well, wow, this guy is lucky. He knows a lot of people. I mean, people around the world know about him. The artist community really knows about him. He's getting his shit tweeted all over the place. Of course they're not going to touch him because he's almost like a celebrity. No,
I know in other oppressive governments, there's been plenty of people who were prominent actors and still got captured and got their teeth knocked out. They're like, we don't give a shit.
It's fucking crazy, man.
I'm going to move into the rating part of this. I'm going to say that I've seen a lot of documentaries about modern artists, and I find that about 90% of the time, even if it accurately explains what their point was, what their I forget what the term is, but like the artist's like MO, whatever, like
It's raison d'etre.
That I still go, I don't care. It doesn't really, I'm not impressed. It doesn't do anything for me, whatever. I don't think it's art. I could have figured that out. You just right place, right time. This is not one of those movies. It maybe at first I'm like, okay, well, we'll see, because modern art can be very off-putting at first, for sure. But as it goes along, by the end of it, I was like, damn, I want to go get a book of this guy's stuff. I think he's really a genius. It's pretty amazing. But like I said, more so than that, it really did make me think about the stuff that we're lucky to have here and wonder what's going to happen in the next 20 years or so in China. It's much more than the sum of its parts. So I'm going to give this a full price.
Yeah, I have to be there right with you as far as giving it a full price, because, I mean, it is one of those documentaries at first, you are going to be a little worried about, okay, I don't know shit about art and I don't care. And I especially don't care about some motherfucker from China. But as when it gets into it,
that's none of his business.
yeah, that is right. It's none of my business.
Fuck you, Chinaman.
Don't tell me your problems, China. but you are interested in the problems as how they're presented to you in this documentary, because they really do like such a good job of just getting into what these guys are fighting for, and just what their whole movement is about. And you can't help but fucking want to start dressing up like Che Guevara and just go out there and start marching with them and doing what you can. But
oh, screw that.
I'm not a communist.
This movie no.
Maybe like John Adams.
No. Well, a bad example, yes. But yeah, John Adams, exactly. Yeah, John Connor, sure. Cyrus,
you got to speak on a co-host's
terms. You got to get down to my level, brother.
Okay, you remember the speech in Independence Day that Bill Pullman
Yes, it made me want to be Bill Pullman. But I mean, it really does open your eyes to what's going on in China, and it's kind of scary to think that people are going through that. So when a movie can open up your eyes to that and actually make you care, it's done its job. And and I definitely strongly recommend everybody go check this out before this guy is actually dead. So you're not. So you can at least be one of those hipsters that go, hey, I knew about him before all you motherfuckers. You just because that movie comes out. Well, we are getting the screener earlier than everybody, Cyrus. So we're still kind of cool.
You guys are the hipsters now.
Yeah.
Say, I knew about him back when he was cool.
Yeah.
I didn't say it. It's not my fault if by default it's true.
Well, you guys have inspired me. I'm gonna do my part.
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna send them.
Are you gonna go eat Chinese food?
Well, after that, I'm gonna send them a crate of Guy Fawkes masks, so they can all be V for Vendetta.
I'm just gonna have lunch at the Panda Express.
必须按照程序来，请你把它关了。